Back row ministry of the world premiere, Mr. Martin coming at you live and direct. We want to do a piece on just the power of negativity. I work with a lot of people every day, and the populace I work with are people that struggle with addiction. So I have to talk about positivity, especially in this time, because a lot of times when people are going through really really tough, extenuating circumstances, not caused by them, they tend to cope with the stress and frustration of the situation, the depression of the situation with a substance. So we talk a lot about positivity. And that's hard to do in this environment because this is not a environment where the players' energy comes from positivity. Their energy comes from negativity. So of course the first picture I saw is you see kind of a strange picture with Trump trying to act like he's the good guy in this, and the blood demon himself, Fauci, which I call the king of blood demons, the master builder and one of the master architects, probably one of Trump's Scottish Wright brothers, continue to push this negative energy. So you see Trump breaks with the experts on the return of coronavirus. Fauci convinced virus will be back, which he knows is going to be back because the coronavirus is here every damn year, which we've talked about. Like I say, it's a virus that has 7 different strands. They call it human coronavirus, and pretty much you probably already had this. So of course, when they say, well, many people are probably carriers of the virus or certain antibodies, yes, because they know you already had it. So moving into the next phase of this, and we'll talk a little bit about the next phases of this um, virus plan, is really based upon they know everybody pretty much has had a strand of this coronavirus. So they know it's in your body. They know it's in your DNA already. So just the negative energy, just story after story. So here's story number 1: the virus will be back. The negative energy. Trump breaks with the experts, breaking with Fauci, trying to act like he's the good guy. Because, like I say, the protesters now are all Trumpites. And they're the only ones protesting. Like I say, Trump could come out on the right side of this if what I think the reports I heard, if it takes place, he's going to come out on the right side of this. So, negative at the negative. Let's see if this holds. So here's Chris Cuomo. Now his wife reveals his son has COVID-19. Cuomo, the brother governor, the governor Cuomo here in New York, also family friend of the Trump. So it's very obvious why they're in this ritual. And always watch the pictures. You see love, HEHEA. Take what they give you in the picture. I always say take what they give you. So when you do your gematria, you're just taking what they give you. I'm going to take that HEA. That's what they gave you. So HEA 68, 68, 31, the 11th prime number, the master number. 121, the 11th, I believe, triangular number or Fibonacci number. No, 120 was the square root. 11 is the square root of 121. So 11, the master number. Cuomo and his family, big players in this. So Chris Cuomo talking about he's got coronavirus now. His 14-year-old teenage son has COVID-19. The virus does not discriminate. So these Democrats and their families is a bunch of fucking liars. And they're the kings of this negative energy. So this is the party that's supposed to be for the people. They're the party that's keeping the negative energy going. Think about it. Think about it. Just keep the story going. Keep the narrative going. Every story with them. And Cuomo, he's talking about, well, Chris Cuomo talking about he has the virus, but then he's doing a news show from his house every night. But he's so sick. Come on, man. Come on, man. Please. But negative energy. They got to keep the negative energy going. And this is supposed to be the party for the people. Yet the party for the people is the most negative party inside of this. Here's another negative story. 5 key ways healthcare could change post-coronavirus analysis. Well, one key way is going to change is HIPAA violations are going to occur. HIPAA violation. See the 311, the 113 switch. Then we talked about the 311 and 113. But HIPAA violation is about to kick in to full effect. You got and let me see if I can find this story. But apparently here in New York, Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg, is about to offer up $10 million. See if I can pull it up. All right, so Bloomberg, see if this holds. Michael Bloomberg is dedicating $10 million to coronavirus contact tracing program. So the program is aimed at tracing where people have been and who they've come in contact with in case they later test positive for coronavirus. And Bloomberg will design the whole thing. So you got a millionaire giving up money for a contact tracing program. This is a HIPAA violation. Remember when HIV was out, you couldn't even tell, a doctor couldn't call to tell individuals if a person had HIV, which was a deadly disease that was killing millions, and the person could live in your house and be married, and the doctor couldn't tell the wife if the person had HIV. Now for the COVID-19, which is less deadly than HIV, they want to track people, and they want to trace to see who you're around, basically keeping a tab on you. So Apple and Google recently announced a rare partnership to develop a contact tracing program embedded in their customers' phones. Their program would allow people to opt in to have their location privately tracked, and if they test positive for COVID-19, will be able to alert anyone they've been around. So basically, let's say if I just tested positive for COVID-19, let's say I got the flu, and I had the flu last week. And if I get around you, your phone will go off to say, he has the flu. He has the flu. Who's to say that if you turn your medical records over to Apple and Google, you got HIV? Here's the HIPAA violation. The application or the software might just read infectious diseases and viruses. So that machine, that program would kick out, he's got HIV. He's got HIV. So now HIPAA violations occur. That's not supposed to take place. People aren't supposed to know your medical history unless you tell them. So now you're going to create a program basically that tells people medical history, basically a way to, you call it a tracker to warn people if they're around someone who has COVID-19 as though they got the plague or leprosy or something. You see the sickness that we're heading into? And this is what, we mean by giving up your freedoms. Basically going to turn your medical history over to Apple and Google. You're going to give your medical history over to Apple and Google. Now you stand around somebody and you at the bus stop. He's got HIV. He's got this. She's got that. And now you don't know how this software is going to work. You don't know. Look at Siri. Sometimes not Siri, but Alexa. Alexa sometimes just shout stuff out. So now you got this software that can shout out anything. This is where we headed. Negative energy, the continuation of negative energy. And what they're talking about in New York is if you are identified as even having had COVID-19, they're talking about isolation and quarantine. This is not over. Like I said, we're going into the deeper parts of this, pulling people out of their homes, isolation and quarantine. They didn't do that with HIV patients that they knew who these people were. There was no quarantine for HIV patients in America. Cuba did it, but America refused to do it. And we had millions of people that ended up dying from HIV. So we had all those deaths with HIV, but now you're talking about COVID-19 where people are recovering. And people didn't recover from HIV. They had to take medication with years down the road. So you see the type of game that they're playing, trying to open a door so they can move into another phase of what they're trying to do. Like I say, population control, isolate and quarantine certain people. You can wipe them out that way. And watch, most of this stuff is going to be in urban communities, which we've talked about. Now we got the backlash inside of this. The negativity is now focused at the Republicans. Now the Republicans are trying to make themselves look good. They're trying to make themselves look good by pushing back against the states. And these are Trumpite states. So these four Republican states are ignoring Trump's reopening guidelines. So some of them are going against Trump. But the negative, they're basically saying, so Georgia, South Carolina, most of the southern states are basically on May the 1st. They're just gonna open up the state. They're just gonna open up the state, and we'll see where it goes from that if we go into another part of the script. But Trump has his guidelines, but these states where the Trumpites are supposedly at are pushing back. Like I said, Trump is trying to position himself, especially in the southern states, to look good. But there's also a report that this might be an attack on rural communities. We'll see as this continues. All right, but negative story after negative story, negative story after negative story. Just don't want any positivities to build inside of this. We see the negative stories coming out of Michigan. Every other story with Michigan is white versus black. All right, just pay attention. And here's a story that got me: the 5-year-old girl that died. And this pretty much kind of ties in. Hopefully we can hold. All right, so here's the story about the 5-year-old girl who dies in Michigan. This is the 5-year-old girl who dies in Michigan, daughter of two first responders. And you see every story in Michigan what we talked about. You get the white people in Michigan or the Caucasians protesting, and every story about the COVID cases are all been African American, and that's done on purpose. And you see the color coordination of the young girl in Michigan, probably a young girl who possibly was sacrificed for this COVID-19 narrative. There's some sick people in the world. Just because a person black don't mean they sick. They ain't sick, black folk. But the daughter of two first responders is believed to be the youngest person in Michigan to die from COVID-19. Police officer Lavondria Herbert and her husband Ebby, who names himself Ebby. You ever heard of a man named Ebby? I've never heard of a man named Ebby a day in my life. So anytime you hear a ridiculous name, Ebby is 23. We already know 23 is the number of masonry. 31, the 11th prime number. We already see where this story is going. A bunch of hogwash. Possibly they've sacrificed their daughter for whatever gifts. Who works as a firefighter in Detroit, Michigan, predominantly black area. Here we go again. Their daughter died of COVID-19 complications, plus postpartum meningitis as well, as according to the story. According to Detroit News, Skylar visited her pediatrician on March 23rd, Ebby, 23, complaining of headache that wouldn't go away. The Herberts were given a prescription for antibiotics after Skylar tested positive for strep throat. My daughter just had strep throat and got the antibiotics, cleared it right up. But Evie just passes away from the strep throat. Okay. So, Skylar is her name. Skylar. And it's not even Skylar, it's Skylar. Skylar. Already relationship with the celestial above, Skylar. So Skylar is 32, 41, 13, the number of change, 112 like her father, Ebby, was 112, 19, COVID-19, 44, the kill coal in her name. You see how they do it. I mean, just, it's too easy to put this stuff together. It takes about 5 seconds. But look at the picture. And the picture is what got me. Let me see if I can pull the picture up. So the picture is what got me. And on the picture is Ebby. She's got on a red. She got on the colors of red and pink. We know those are colors of vortex geometry. But the pink, the unicorn, and the unicorn is an animal that's always trying to be hunted. It's elusive. It's invisible, but it's a hunted animal. So Ebby is the hunted. So they're telling you in Detroit. They're telling you in Michigan what's the target going to be in Detroit. African Americans, like we said, inside of urban communities, young female African Americans, because they need the X gene. They need to wipe out this X gene. They're afraid of young female African Americans, especially the young. So the younger they are, the better. They got to wipe out that X gene. So this is what the hunt is about. Young black women, young black girls, stopping their ability to procreate. They're afraid of the continued procreation of people of color. We know this. We know this because really that the Caucasian race is dying off. They're slowly dying off. The women won't reproduce. You see a lot of now the mixing because they need to continue to reproduce. That's why the the prince married who he did. He needs to reproduce. He needs to continue the bloodline. So the hunt is on. The hunt is on for the Skylers of the world. That's why this story is in Detroit. So like I said, for my people, a lot of folks are going to be stated to have the COVID-19 virus. And that not saying it's an active virus. They're going to just say, well, you walking around with the virus and you healthy. So we got to isolate and quarantine you until we find the vaccine. That's where the FEMA camps come in. That's where the Joker comes in, Barack Obama. He's going to try to sell it to dumb, gullible black women that you need to go on the FEMA camps and we'll give you some more pacification money for you to stay in the FEMA camp so we can test vaccines on you and your children and sterilize your daughters so they can't procreate. Sick story, but this is the plan. They don't want us to procreate. They are afraid of young black women, their ability to procreate. They need to still find the 144. Remember, they still got to find the 144. And if you got racial tensions or you got an atmosphere where you create a scenario where African Americans are the carriers of this COVID-19 or the predominant carriers of the virus here, you got what you want. You got white against black. White people ain't gonna want to be around black people. You make black people the pariahs in the country. You isolate and quarantine them, or isolate and quarantine people of color, be it Hispanics, any people of color you can find. You try to isolate and quarantine them. That's what they're doing in India to each other. So, the script is just really starting to play out. Remember Event 201. If you have not watched Event 201, go on YouTube, watch Event 201. I'll probably watch it again. But it talks about the May time period and May being the deadliest time period for people of color because that's when the attack on our urban. We could have a full on scale war inside of urban communities based upon this idea that we gotta isolate and quarantine those that might be carriers of the COVID virus. Like I said, it's gonna get ugly before it gets clean. It's gonna get dirty before it gets clean. So they got to keep the negative energy going because they're getting to the real deep parts of the master plan. Like I said, it's never had anything to do with the COVID. It's always been about the 144 and coming after the scholars of the world. They got to get Skylar. They got to get her. That's why she got on a unicorn. She's got on the pink. We talk about pink all the time. I ain't see pink, something's up already with the story. So they got to get the unicorn. They got to come after Skylar. They got to get Skylar. They got to get her. They got to get her. They got to get it. And the X gene, the X hunter, is what it's always been about. It's never really changed. Everything else is a smoke screen to get to what they're trying to get. Anytime you see 5-year-old, we already know 5 is the number of balance. 5 is the number of balance, balancing off the world. This is fear. They're afraid that they're dying off. So 5 is the number of balance. That's why a 5-year-old was picked. 5 takes you back to 24 and 42. 42 the nigga number. We got to get these niggas. 5 takes you to 20. Death to these niggas. We got to get them. We got to get them. We got to get them. 24. We go back to the Kobe number. We got to get the king. The coronavirus. That's what it's all about. They are the virus. The king is the virus. We got to get them. And this is the way that we can isolate, quarantine, and wipe them out. So you already know where I'm going when the quarantine gets lifted. When certain stores open, I already know where I'm going. The plan has been set in motion. My mind is not changed. I'm playing chess with my enemy. My enemy plays chess a certain way. I play chess a certain way. But certain people might think, well, his mind has changed. No. My mind never changed. I'm always playing chess. I'm always positioning myself. I'm going into the next phase. I have to stay on point with my enemy because I see now where he's about to take this. People are not paying attention to where it's going. People are not seeing certain people position themselves to make themselves look good. And that's what's going on right now. So they have to keep the negative energy going. It can't be any positive energy. Any positive story you heard about, they've hit it with a negative. People are talking about reopening the country, they come with a negative. Bruce Willis quarantined with ex to me instead of his regular wife, they come with a negative in that. Everything is a negative. Fauci says there will be coronavirus in the fall. They come with a negative. They can't give you positivity. They need negative energy to move their plans forward. Remember the opening of the portal, releasing of what they feel is the Antichrist. These people are very sick, they're very twisted, they're very demented, and they need to build up death energy. They need to build up the energies of fear and build up the energies of negativity, any negative energy they can get. I'm gonna pop up a character. I'll pop up a character here. But the character of Pennywise. Pennywise. And if you remember the character of Pennywise, Pennywise was the clown, the joker that fed off of people's fear. That's what Pennywise did. He fed off the fear of children. He needed that fear energy. And this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a bunch of Pennywises. They need fear. They need fear to survive. That's how Pennywise was able to survive for centuries. Where he survived for several decades because of fear. He was utilizing fear energy. That's where his power came from. And that when we talk about fear is power, that's what we mean. Fear is power. And Pennywise was utilizing fear in order to keep his power going. To keep that power going, he needed you to be afraid of him, and especially children. And he attacked children because of the innocence of children. And of course, it was still a lot of things that they were afraid of that he could exploit and get that fear energy brewing. Because he had to get the energy. He played with you for a while to get your energy brewing because he really wanted you to have a lot of energy. He wanted you to have a lot of energy. And see the numbers in Pennywise. 49, the number of revelation. 58, the number of masonry. 113 and 311, the same numbers. 39, the number of New York. 41, the number of change inside of Pennywise. So, fear. I need you to be afraid. You got to be afraid for me to be able to do what I'm going to do. Fear is 21. Fear is 24. Those same numbers. Fear is 56. Coronavirus is 56. We've talked about these things. So, just really paying attention to what these people are doing, paying attention to the tools they use. We've been talking about fear energy for the last 3 years now. Talk about fear energy, the energy of fear, the energy of death. Energy is used to open the portal. They need that energy to build, to build, to build, to build. San Francisco ain't out of play. It's always been in play. Like I said, 411 is a number. It's not a time, a specific date. It can hit at any time. 311 can hit at any time. That's just how these people play. You just got to be 1 to 2 steps ahead of them and paying attention to what they got going on. Pennywise, feeding off of fear, dressed like a woman. Dressed like a woman with the red balloon. He's got the red balloon in his hand. Feeding off the fear of others. So, all about fear, all about the fear campaign. They're going to continue to push it. They're going to continue to push it as states try to reopen. They're really going to kick the fear campaign at high grounds. They're going to use white against black. Just pay attention to the news. Caucasian Americans are going to want freedom. Black people are going to want slavery. Just pay attention to it. They're going to be the force of freedom. We're going to be the force of continued slavery, continued dependence on the government. And you ask African, and then we got this plateau in New Jersey. They like to use the term plateau, where we haven't reached our plateau yet. So there's a specific number you got to reach to say, okay, well, everything's okay. When you got more death, more life than death coming out of it. But plateau is 41. That's that number on change again. 13, 41 to 13 prime number. So everything they throw these numbers out on purpose. They do these things on purpose. Okay? So here's Trump trying to play both sides. Now he's telling people to liberate, but at the same time, Trump says he disagrees strongly with Georgia governor's decision to reopen state. The problem in Georgia is the home of the CDC in Atlanta. So they're the first talking about they're going to reopen the state. And only thing he's talking about, he's going to allow some essential business to reopen despite a high number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the state. So all the essential businesses are all the big corporations, your Walmart, your Costco's, most of your food stores. But your small businesses can't open because if you go to the small business, you might get the coronavirus. Yet you can't get it in Costco, Walmart, and all these other big stores. You see the hypocrisy inside of that? That's the hypocrisy. That's the hypocrisy you're dealing with. That's the hypocrisy. And then Trump, he'll flip sides. So he don't back Georgia, but if it's successful, he'll jump on the Georgia bandwagon, and then something else might take place. So definitely got to pay attention. And then some of these places, like I say, that's where the racism going to kick in because a lot of these businesses are Caucasian-owned small businesses. So don't let the story come out where the black folk are to carry the coronavirus in Georgia and South Carolina and play like that because you're gonna have a racial issue. But they're creating the issue as they move forward. They're using negativity, and they're going to definitely use that power of that to just continue to create the energy. Okay, so we'll see Trump probably flip sides if this does work, but he acting like he doesn't care here, but then at the same time, he telling people to liberate and go against their governors. So you don't know what side Trump is on. So they have a protest. Kentucky coronavirus cases spike following shutdown protests in state. See the negativity? So the people stand up and suddenly, they have a spike in cases. Says who? Says who? See if it holds. Says who? So our businesses pay your bills. Reopen Kentucky. So says who? Who is the person who says that they had a spike in cases? Who said it? Who said it? So you get certain individuals stating that things are spiked due to people standing up for themselves because they don't want this. They don't want people standing up for themselves. So the minute that people stand up, they hit you with negativity. Oh, see, because they got together and the cases went up. Okay, so did the deaths go up or just the cases? So they're just playing with numbers. They can say anything. The media can say anything. They can say any number went up. How do you know it's true or not? So, the big piece of this is challenging the stuff that we hear and see. Because they can say anything. They can say 1,000 people died from the coronavirus and 50 deaths. They can say whatever they want to say. Because they know you won't go and challenge it. So then they try to use fear. They turn into Pennywise, so then you won't go and protest because you might get the coronavirus. So that's how these things work together. Fear energy, fake numbers, trying to create that energy, that Pennywise energy they need to feed on because the more people are afraid, the more control they can keep. But just like Pennywise, when the kids found out that that's what he was doing, he just wanted us to be afraid. And when they stopped being afraid, he didn't have control over the situation. And they was able to go to war with him. And see, that's what these folks don't want. The minute that they know that they don't have control over the situation, then bam, they know you can go to war. What's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this picture? Easy to pick. And they tried to hide it. You see the red, white, and blue. The sign represents America. But you see how the pink comes on the side here and the pink and black, we always say a pink and black is a stage story. So these protests have been staged. And they give it up. I'll say pay attention to the picture at all time. One thing I learned from guys like Yahi and some other guys in the community, Attention to detail. We learned that in the military, but what it really means, paying attention to every part of this story. Every part. I can pull the ICE. They want you to see RIICE in her shirt. And they definitely wanted you to see that pink and black on the side so you know that this is a stage story. Anytime you see pink inside of a picture, especially pink and black, you know it's a staged and rigged story. So this has been rigged. This has been set up. This has been set up. And this is to get certain people's energy up. That other energy. The other energy that's out there. So that energy to rebel, that energy to fight. Because if you're going to start a war, you need all these energies flowing at the same time. You need the energy of hate to be there. You need the energy of fear to be there. You need the energy, the negative energy to be there. It's got to be there. Hate and fear are two things that definitely got to be there. Love can't exist. You don't need love inside of this period. So just paying attention. You'll see the pink. See how the pink is on this side. You got some pink on that side. So you know these some of these protests are staged and rigged protests. Because if it was real protests, everybody be outside right now protesting. You're not gonna get that because you got so much fear energy. People are afraid to go outside because if they go outside, the coronavirus cases will spike. Like I say, when is this ever gonna end? When you got the powers to be who are in control of the numbers. They can tell you anything, and you can eat it up. That's what people do. They eat it up. They love it. They eat it up. Like I say, you're going to die, you're going to die. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. What the hell can you do about that? But a lot of negative cases. A lot of negative stories. You probably got a lot of negative stories in your state. The minute you try to get positive, they're going to come with the negatives. That's just what they do. Yeah, we know this story is fake. This guy in the scrubs just positions himself to stand right in front of the vehicle. Land of the free. Land of the free. Take what they give you. Now he stands right in front of the vehicle, and of course he's a doctor. Because the doctor knows best inside of the coronavirus situation. I've heard some things about some of this stuff going on in the hospital. Land of the free is 65, 61, 70, 55. We already know 55 relation to things. The other calendar. Land of the free. So land of the free is 119. I'm gonna say chaos is 19. 65. 232. And 61 the God number, land of the free. 61 is the 18th prime. So you can see a lot of 18. And those are small ciphers. We go to other ciphers here. Kabbalah. So definitely get the God number out of 118. And one of my ciphers didn't open. I reversed. That's the one that didn't open. See if we got any vibrations. Probably a lot in that. I have to go over all the numbers. 65 is 30. 30 goes back to death. 6 plus 5 is 11. Goes back to the master number. So the idea that this is supposed to be the land of the free, and you should be able to protest, and this fool, and you know this is a staged and rigged photo. Why would he be standing in the middle of two cars when he could be in the front of the whole protest? And then why is he just in front of this specific car? And this is, of course, in Colorado. Yeah, like I say, just pay attention to some of the stuff they do. You 21. I will die for you. Probably happened on Prince's birthday. That was the 19th, April the 19th. COVID-19, of course. He just stands in the middle of the car. Come on, man. That's rigged and staged all day. Rigged and staged all day. Being a single mom by choice. So she's being a single mom by choice. Under social distancing means with all the single moms out there who don't have a choice and have to do it every day. So she's the exception. All right, but just crappy story after crappy story, all negative. No positive energy inside of these headlines. No positive energy. Yeah, no positive energy. It's all fake energy, all negative energy. Because they got to keep the negative energy going. They got to keep the fear energy going, and people eat it up. And for this to come out of this and come on the winning side, you got to be positive. Number one, you got to keep positive energy. You got to know you're dealing with blood demons. You got to also understand that God, at the end of the day, is going to deal with them. We don't have to deal with them. God is going to deal with these type of people. Might not be on your time. It's going to be on His time. And we will come out on the side of right. So you have to remember, we will come on the side of right. We will come out on the side of right. Give me liberty or give me COVID-19. Okay. Like I say, man, this is where we headed. The protests are coming. And, these violate, of course, the social distancing rules, but they're allowed to do it. That's how you know it's staged. And where the police at? You try to protest in Detroit and Chicago in the urban city and see how many police officers be out there to round them up. Like I say, man, a bunch of BS. Mr. Mahdi, Backroom Ministry, be safe, prepare, play chess, don't play checkers as we move forward inside of this scenario.